Welcome back. A new documentary airing Tuesday night on Discovery Channel provides a new and stunning look at just how many great white sharks call the waters just off our shores home. Ed Peill is executive producer of Great White North Invasion. I love that title.
Thank you.
That's a great title. He joins us in studio. We've done a lot of reporting the last couple of years. There was a gentleman just at Queensland Beach who swore he saw evidence of a shark, a fin, going the length of the beach. A lot of talk about sharks, about great whites in our waters. You've got a lot of evidence, a lot of proof in this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot of them.
There are a lot of white sharks out there. And that's a good news story. Having more white sharks helps keep the ecosystem in balance. And, you know, we now have, I don't know what the latest number is, but millions and millions of seals. Well, one of the only things that helps keep that population in check, naturally, are great white sharks.
You did not have to go very far to find them.
No. So the area, I've been documenting this research over the last 5 years. And Chris Harvey-Clark from Dalhousie is the researcher who's been leading up the work. And so we started filming a couple years ago. And then eventually we got a documentary from Discovery Channel. And the area that we were focusing on is very close to Lunenburg. So right at the mouth of Lunenburg Harbor, and then over the last few years, sort of to the east and to the west from that.
We're looking at some of the footage now, which is incredible. And you go to a few different spots to find these sharks. And the cast of characters in this show, brave, crazy, or otherwise?
Well, I would file it under the brave category. Okay. Fearless.
Fearless.
I mean, as you'll see in the film, we have 3 people in a Zodiac. Walter Flower, his daughter Allie, and Andy Casagrande, a longtime veteran of Shark Week. And, you know, what they try and do in the Zodiac is the goal is to tag a white shark with an acoustic tag. And that tag will then provide data for years and years that tells the movements of that shark, which is really important.
What did you learn about the species in your filming of this? We were talking off camera. We have this image. Again, we have to go back 50 years to Jaws, perhaps, where it's sort of ingrained in us, that fin out of the water.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the practice of sharks, though.
So one of the big surprises for me, as you know, I'm not a researcher, I'm a TV producer, but I had this same Hollywood myth that, you know, white sharks are, you know, spend all this time on the surface and you see the fin and all of that. That actually happens very rarely. And even when we're there, I mean, we have an attractant, like a tuna head or something as a bait. And those baits are a couple of feet, maybe 5-6 feet underwater. And there's lots of times we will never see that shark at the surface. We have a lot of technology that you see in the film. We use sonar. We have cameras on the baits. We have an ROV, which actually got sort of bumped. You know, one of the white sharks ran straight into it, which is a fantastic shot in the film. But they don't spend as much time at the surface as I think people, at least I thought they spent a lot more time at the surface. They don't.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
We saw one, an absolute monster.
Yeah.
Size them.
Yeah.
But you saw the gamut.
Yeah.
And that itself is telling about what might be happening off the East Coast here.
Well, it's interesting, and you know, Chris Harvey-Clark could sort of probably explain more of the science behind it. But over the last 5 years, we've now identified 59 different white sharks, and the majority of those are males. And you know, that's interesting, and they're ranging in size. Well, one year we had what's called the Young of the Year, and we estimated using our sonar that it was about 6 feet long. That's a very young shark. When they're born, they're about 4 or 5 feet. So they grow pretty quickly, and then they start to grow more slowly.
So unlikely that would have swam a long distance from southern latitudes.
The theory is that must have been born here in local waters. But again, no one's ever seen that happen here. It's theory, you know. But there's a lot of male sharks, and the sharks that everybody really wants to get more information on are large, mature females, so breeding age females. And we didn't see very many of those, but I don't want to give anything away in the film. We had, you know, sightings of a 15 to 16 foot female, which is, for research purposes, that's as good as it gets.
You mentioned you're not a scientist, you're a filmmaker,
Yeah.
TV producer. So the challenge of making a film like this, I was going to make the crack that in one scene when we saw that giant shark with the Zodiac, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
But having that many cameras, having an animal that doesn't act on cue like an actor,
Yeah.
that's got to provide some challenges.
Yeah. Well, luckily, the researchers we're working with, Chris Harvey-Clark, his team, Sarah Burko, who's his research assistant, and Andy Casagrande. He's been in 100 Shark Week films in the last 20 years. He has encountered more white sharks than probably most people on the planet. He has a really good understanding of their behaviors. And one of the techniques we use, which we all thought, oh, come on, really? He said, yeah, let's try and tag. We had tagged one once from what we call the mothership. Well, luring a shark in with just a piece of, tuna, no hooks, right? There's nothing to bring them in except their interest. That's, when they're 60, 70 feet out, that's not that easy. They can let go at any time. Right. We did manage to do that once, a couple years ago. So Andy's suggestion was, he said, look, let's take the Zodiac, let's take the gray one, not the red one, let's take the gray one, let's just drift it back, and let's just see what they do. And sure enough, he said, they're going to come right up to the side of it. And we're like, no, come on. And they did. And his theory, it's just a theory, is that the outline, the shape, they're looking up, okay, what is this? Yeah. If they smell something they're interested in and they see a shape that might be a dead whale, he says their entire behavior changes, because when they find a deadfall, a whale that's floating, all their behavior changes. Normally, they would never cooperate feeding. They're very, territorial. But he's witnessed multiple white sharks on a floating whale carcass because there's no threat. They don't have to chase it. Lots of food for everybody. So they'll be like an all-you-can-eat buffet. They'll just be chewing away. So his theory was they won't be aggressive because they think it's a whale and there's nothing to fight. And sure enough, they just, I'm making it sound easier than it is, but we actually got them right beside, as you'll see in the film.
And it's fascinating, and it just goes to prove that we have a lot more we need to learn about these, and watching this is a good start. Discovery Channel, Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. We appreciate you coming in. Congratulations.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoy the film.
Great White Invasion, Tuesday night on the Discovery Channel. We will take a break. We'll have lots more of your show right after this.